Welcome to Matters of DeCorum. I'm Scott Corum. This is what matters to me. So I'm dedicated to writing a fantasy setting for the Victory system by Christmas of this year. It's January 23rd as I record this, giving me 11 months, 2 days to get that done. And this is a bigger project than I've taken on in quite some time. I've had difficulties with writing, creation, output, production, and at the moment, more difficulties because the medication that I use to focus, you can't get for love or money in Southern California. There's a backlog of it. Hopefully, that gets cleared up, and I can get some of my medication. In the meantime, there's so much coffee involved, so very much coffee. There's a good percentage of this is death wish, and that amount of caffeine is probably going to help me bridge over some of the gaps. We'll see what happens. So it's a fantasy setting for Victory and not a fantasy role-playing game because I've got a role-playing game. All the rules and mechanics I need for character generation and doing everything in the game, the actual nuts and bolts of the mechanics, that's in the Victory system. And that book's probably going to get some revisions and an update because it could use one at this point in time. It's been a while. And while I am working on the other material, I'm probably going to be jumping back and forth and fixing a couple of other things too. So, just a fantasy setting. What is involved in that? I'm building the framework for the project in my head. Right now, that's this part of the project, is building the framework and leaving the scaffold for me to fill in as I go along. So that's the question. What do you need to have in a fantasy setting? I've posed this to a couple of my Discords, my patrons, my Warriors Wednesday, some folks that are integral to my creative process. What do you need to have? What am I going to need to be producing over the next 11 months, 2 days? A world. It's got to be a world. I need to make something, enough of a world that people can run around in it and kick the tires, jump off of some stuff, and kill some bad guys. It's got to be the backdrop for adventure. That has to be what it is. And I cannot, in any way, shape, or form, hold back or skimp on everything I can put into it. So there will need to be maps. I will probably start with maps. I've got maps of things that I have done over the past few years, unpublished, that were just basically for home games and whatnot. And some of them could just get punched up a little bit or be the start of other projects. Maps. At least one continent worth of maps. Map of a continent, then local maps and city maps. Get it down. A few maps of individual buildings and places of interest. Lots of maps. And with every map, a description of what that place is. For a continent map, these are the countries, these are the areas, these are the climates. These are the things off that coast, these are the things off this coast. And then as you narrow it down, well, this is this country. This country has these resources and has this demographic breakup. There are these major cities in it, and these kinds of things happen in this country. This is what they import, this is what they export. And then the individual cities, what happens there, who lives there. Start to get down to some of the people involved. Maybe not their stats at this point in time, but their names, so that I can put stat blocks for them further on in if they're really important. And then maybe individual areas inside some of those cities. It's not going to be small. In fact, it's going to be as big as I can make it. Of course, with the fact there's going to be geography in there, there's got to be two things to go along with that, and that is history and culture. And the culture needs to be informed by the history. Have these people been at war? Have these people been at peace? Have they been able to use their resources very well? Have they been conquered? Have they conquered other people? Is this the core of a kingdom? Is this a little podunk town out in the middle of no place? And how are things? How did things get this way? What's the geopolitical situation? Oh, which means ultimately, I need to tell a lot of stories. I like telling stories. This is where I get to travel an entire country that no one else has been in before in my head, and do it well enough that I can describe it and map it so that other people can join me there in my head. I love this format of storytelling because other people are going to be empowered and encouraged to stomp around, kick things over, kill that bad guy, help those orphans, do the other way around. I'm not going to be there, so you do what you want. Don't kill the orphans. It's just bad karma all around. So the maps, the area, that's the big step. What I've done so far, I've got material that I've made in bits and pieces over the years that kind of fit into that fantasy setting. And I'm gathering all of that together and putting it in one place and seeing where it presents an entire surface that can be played on, or where there are gaps that I need to fill in. Do I have enough equipment? Do I have enough magic? Do I have enough creatures? Do I have enough very types of sapient beings that can be played as player characters? Are there going to be classes or races, and there's going to be species packages and probably profession packages as well. The Victory was written as a classless system in more ways than one. There are no classes traditionally, as they are often considered to be certainly in D&D. So something that gives a little bit of a format to a character without having to come up with the entire thing from whole cloth. This person has this kind of a job, so what did they have? Or at least some suggestions, if not a full-on template. There's a lot here. So once I've got that, once I've got those basics down, I can start doing the maps and the story, the history. Then it comes down to some villain-based plotting. Who are the big movers and shakers in the background? Who's making things shake and rumble and fall over? Who are the folks that are pushing and prodding and making bad events happen to good people? Because that's who you got to go beat up ultimately, is the people who are making bad things happen to good people. And while I am sitting here thinking about what the process is going to be and everything that has to happen, it is both very, very daunting to think of the scope, the stuff that I want to create, and also very comforting because this is all stuff that I do anyway. This is stuff that I would be coming up with if I didn't have a project like this in front of me. I'd be doing this for fun. That's why this is my career. And I get to reach back into games that I've run recently where I was making stuff up off the top of my head, and that worked out really well. I think I will take that concept from here. Is there going to be is the inn Toss Me a Gold going to be in here? Yeah, I think that's going to be in there. It might be a franchise. It might be an organization that backs that. Is there going to be some kind of Assassin's Guild? Well, of course there is, but something a little bit special. Something I've incorporated into other games where you don't call it the Assassin's Guild. No, you don't even have a name for it. It's just those people who are ever so helpful and occasionally do some political work. You know, the wet stuff. I have a listing of the terms that Wizards of the Coast has a definitive lock on through Dungeons and Dragons. What are the creatures, the monsters, the concepts they have the copyright on. And so that I can skirt that area, just not even have material like that in the game, but have my own stuff, have different stuff, have entirely other things that are mine, that I can throw in there. The Tolkien-esque stuff, that's all open, free, and clear. Elves, dwarves, orcs, trolls. The good old Lord of the Rings material, that's pretty much common parlance these days. And a lot of that's based on older folks' tales and myth and legend, all of which is open and free to use conceptually. I am free to define these things the way I would define them. So recognizable to people who follow pop culture and whatnot, but at the same time, maybe with a little bit of a twist that is just mine. Maybe it's in how they make their equipment or how they modify equipment, things that are just weapons that they could use or weapons that they make better than anyone else. Fortunately, Victory gives me a couple of extra benefits there, in that I can include a set of guidelines for how these folks make their weapons differently, how it affects crafting and modification and enchanting, and so that you can go, well, I know what you need to do, but that axe, well, we can't get that done here. I know a dwarf in the mountains who knows the secrets to do that, but that's a bit of a trick. We have to go, better get out now before the snows hit. I've got the benefit of a fairly robust crafting system that I can narrow down to easier to use blocks. Doesn't have to be the big book of equipment that I put out that's all numbers and charts and math. I can just boil that down to some Legos, things you can snap onto your weapons. Oh, I can get the sword, or I can get a dwarven crafted sword, or I can get elven mithril made into sword. Just plenty of different options, all of which are things that I can build from scratch and play with as I go. And because this is me and the way I'm thinking about it now, every little bit of the crafting things that I can do introduces more story, more legend, more verisimilitude to the world. If I'm going to get a watch made in the 1400s, well, if I even know what a timepiece is in the 1400s, but if I really, if I've got the freedom to go any place and get myself a timepiece made, I'm going to Switzerland. That's where the good ones are made. Getting that kind of feeling for all different kinds of stuff. Is that rope from Gorshner? Yeah, we can use that rope. I'm not going to use anything else. I'm not going to use rope from any place else here. It wouldn't make it, but that's Gorshner hemp. Yeah, we can climb with that. It's going to be a giant book of flavor. Everything needs to have a taste to it. You need to walk into a room and know what it smells like. Be able to see that steam coming off of that one corner and having kind of a sense that it makes your nose itch and twitch. Starting from these grand maps that are hopefully going to be colorful and guide you places, and hey, that place looks interesting. I wonder if we can make it over to there. Have that kind of a day, but when you get there, being able to feel the water from the swamp oozing through your boots and smell the decay, see things sparking off in the distance the way you don't want them to around swamp gases, or maybe a little ball lightning happening just because. Is that a spirit of some sort? Is that a natural phenomena? Or is that someone from the far stars coming to ruin my day? And all of those being viable options. This is the wish list, grand dreaming scale phase of this project. I cannot think of anything that doesn't go in it right now. Right now is just grab every fantasy idea I have had for my entire life, pile them up into one place, and just make a stack. Then comes the tricky part of trimming that down to something that is actually manageable. Seeing what fits and what doesn't, what goes into a project like this, or what goes into a supplement down the line, or what doesn't really fit. Put that aside for a different project or another time or a short story, and move on. You sculpt an elephant out of marble by taking a giant piece of marble and removing all of the marble that doesn't look like an elephant. That is the easiest way to talk about the sculpting process. As likewise, I'm trying to address the fantasy setting process in as easy a way. I put everything that I've got in one place as far as knowledge of fantasy and things that are adjacent to fantasy. Just pack it all in and then start trimming down until I have a book. I'm abandoning the old name I had for this setting. The original name was War for the Shattered Earth. That is 1, too long. 2, do not like the sound of it anymore. 3, I don't like addressing the world as Earth, even if I spell it differently. That's a trope that's been done to death. So there's a new name. It's growing on me right now. I'm not announcing it just yet because I want to have a cover of some sort that I can flash up on the screen, and this is that. So I'll probably announce it here when I do. Probably not too much longer because I'm pretty happy with the name. I just want to have an image to go with it. I want to brand it a little bit. And yeah, I think it's coming together. Again, this is the earliest phase of the project. This is the honeymoon phase where I get to just enjoy the fact that this is the project that I'm doing and start to daydream big and huge about what's going to be in it. And some of those big, huge daydreams are going to fit, and some of those big, huge daydreams aren't. And then I sit down and I very mundanely write an outline as though this were 8th grade English class, because I've tried to do projects without doing that. And you know what? Sometimes you just need to organize things. Is this the ideal time to do this? Yeah. The ideal time to do this would have been a year ago, but I didn't know that the industry was going to need something like this a year ago. And frankly, and I think I am of the mind that I am going to make Victory an open gaming license once I get this down and start to distribute. Because at this point, why not? Just why not? I would like people to feel free to use this to produce other material and make things, because I have had a hard time making things of recent. I'm putting everything I've got into this, but this is one book. And maybe other people have ideas that I would like to see. I love it when I see other people use the system. So, yeah, maybe it's time to produce an open gaming license of my own. It's certainly not a bad time to do that. And then there's art. There's so much art to do because of how I like to do art in a book. All of the equipment needs its own art, individual characters, places, and then just a fairly decent density of art throughout the entire book, because I like there to be a visual reference for what I'm talking about. I like people to be able to go to a place and say, well, yeah, there's a tavern. It looks like this. It's got that sign on the wall. And everyone's on the same page visually inside. So it's got the art, it's got the writing, page layout, editing. I'm probably going to go to some other folks. I have edited my own work in the past. It has not gone very well. I've got some folks that be willing to read this stuff a bit at a time, so I'm probably going to put it in front of them and let it be. Dana, Jim, I'm talking about you guys. And let it get properly evaluated and corrected, and so that it comes out looking right. Not like something I've done, but something that's been done properly. It is not a small project. And good, because I'm ready for something big, I think. So now just to stop talking about it and actually do it. Well, thank you for following me along in this particular ramble. I'm probably going to cover updates on how that is coming here, on what the process is and how I'm doing with it, and if my medication comes in, because it's kind of important to this. If you enjoyed the video, give me a thumbs up. If you didn't enjoy the video, give me a thumbs down. What do you want to see in a fantasy setting? What kind of stuff would you expect to see? You get a book that has an interesting title and pictures of castles on the front. You open it up. What do you expect to see there? Things you'd like to hear me talk about, questions you'd like to hear me answer, leave me a comment down below. I will love getting your comment. You will love leaving me one. If you haven't subscribed to my channel yet, why not? My channel is awesome. Please feel free to hit that subscribe button. If you do, you might want to hit the notification bell so you're alerted when my videos become available. If you would like to contribute to the channel in a more substantial manner, I invite you to hit me up my Patreon page, www.patreon.com/ScottCorum, and consider donating. Absolutely anything helps, allows me to make better videos more often. In the meantime, thank you very much for watching. I'm Scott Corum. This is what has mattered to me. I'll see you next time on the next Matters of DeCorum.